Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a long day. I'm not gonna lie to you, it's been a long day, but the grind doesn't stop. What we have here is a tier list of managers under the most pressure this season. Now, the pressure categories, you could call it, are into five, and I'm gonna introduce them to you right now. At the top, we obviously have the most pressure. Dead man walking, if he doesn't deliver, if he doesn't do a task the way he's supposed to, he's considered sackable. Then we have the hot seat, someone who's playing with knives, someone who's on thin ice. He needs to be looked at very, very closely. Then we'll have a look. Now we'll have a look. It kind of means like it's worth looking into. It's someone worth investigating, someone worth having a look at. We'll have a look. Course we'll have a look. And then we have comfort zone, someone who's kind of chilling. He's not too laid back in his job, but he's in the comfort zone. Whatever he did previously or whatever he's about to get into seems quite comfortable. And lastly, we have on vacation, someone who can literally sit back like this, feet up. He's probably has a pina colada on his right, another drink on his left, sipping it. Palm trees are up in the air. He's in the Bahamas probably, and that's him on vacation. That is this category right here. When everything could go to absolute hell and he'd still have his job. So what I've done is I've kind of handpicked random managers, at least in my opinion, the managers that are probably talked about the most so far this season. And we're just going to play a simple game of just categorizing them, and I'm going to explain why I think where they belong. And yeah, without further ado, let's just get into it. So up first we have Oliver Glasner, and I'm not going to lie guys, we could have our first on vacation manager. I'm not gonna lie. Actually, I'm considering even putting him in comfort zone, but for now I'm gonna stick him in on vacation. I think Glasner's a very interesting. At least his situation is quite interesting. He's someone who he kind of has Palace in a chokehold in a way, and I'm not gonna say that just because of like what he's done. Obviously, he's a very successful manager. He's won Palace their first major trophy in a very long time, or I think ever actually. He's obviously got them into European football this season. They're playing good football. They have a good squad. It's a very thin squad, but it's a very good squad. But I think that the way they went about the transfers, the way, eventually the deadline didn't closed with Gahey staying, and the way Glasner threatened to walk out if Gahey left, kind of shows the amount of power he has in his team, in this team specifically. Now, the owner, Parish, I don't know if he came out and said anything about how much he values Glasner, but just in itself, that action shows how much, I guess you could say, aura Glasner has on this Palace team. So that's why I kind of have him on vacation, because let's just say Palace crash out of Europe. They don't do so well. They finish, as many people would have predicted them, kind of mid-table. I think he still keeps his job. I think he's well within the comfort zone, regardless, whether he succeeds or not. But he's also just he's done what he can. He's literally etched himself into Palace history. So that's why I kind of have him on vacation. Up next, we got Andoni Iraola. He's probably, I wouldn't say he's on vacation. I would say he's more in the comfort zone. I would say he's more in the comfort zone in terms of Bournemouth standards. I think that obviously he took Bournemouth up from a struggling side. They were considered relegation favorites a couple seasons ago after Eddie Howe left. But I think when Iraola came in, he obviously brought his new philosophy of football, or tactics, or whatever you want to call it. And I kind of feel bad for him because he's obviously lost 3 or 4 of his best players this summer. But I think he's still managed to kind of curate a squad that is somewhat competable. And you saw it against Liverpool too in the first game of the season. 2 goals down, but the way this guy's tactics kind of merged together kind of made it click on the pitch, made it uncomfortable for a big club like Liverpool. He's still very tactically, intelligent. He's definitely up there, with the big guys in terms of his ability to coach a football team. I think that obviously he might not have the best players on the pitch, but I think Bournemouth single-handedly kind of shows how much they can be respected as a team because of Iraola. That's why I kind of have him in the comfort zone, because I think that there are still expectations. Obviously, they want to be able to compete. They were, at least for the majority of last season, they were in the European spots, you could call it. And they eventually fell off towards the end because they lost form and injuries and whatnot. But I think that there's still some sort of expectation of staying at that level because they didn't win anything big. They haven't had a manager like Iraola in a very long time. So that's why I think it's worth keeping him in the comfort zone here. Number 3, Vincent Kompany. This one's tough. I'm gonna put him in the hot seat. I think we might have our first hot seat. Kompany's an interesting one because I feel like he a lot of people kind of doubted his ability to manage a club like Bayern after Burnley. But I think that the way he came in last season kind of set his standards. Obviously won the league comfortably as well, I think. But the only kind of blip on that like Bayern resume so far is the ability to compete in the Champions League. Now, obviously they crashed out to Inter last season. Who Inter, by the way, they won an immense run. But I think that this season he's in the hot seat in terms of like winning something in Europe, winning like or kind of like winning a major trophy outside of the Bundesliga. Obviously he didn't win the Club World Cup too. They lost to PSG. But I think in terms of Bayern standards, they have very high expectations in the UCL. Obviously they haven't really, at least their fans think so too, because they haven't won obviously the Champions League, or they haven't really gone too far except for the semi-final that one time since 2021, I believe, when they won it with Flick. I think he's in the hot seat in that sense. I think domestically he's fine. From like a Bayern fan perspective or like a Bundesliga perspective, I think he's fine. But I would say he's more in between the hot seat or we'll have a look. I wouldn't say he's at the most pressure because he does have a great squad, and it is only his second season managing such a big club like Bayern. So I think he's just in the hot seat because of the expectation that Bayern have for him in the Champions League. Up next we have Ruben Amorim, and guys, let's just... I don't even need to explain this one. Honestly, I don't even know how he has a full set of hair after the amount of pressure this guy receives at Man United. It's actually mental. Ruben Amorim is probably the most pressurized manager in football at the current moment. Simple as. Let's just call it what it is. Because the way this guy gets looked at after every single game at Man United is absolutely insane. All eyes on him, genuinely. Media, social media, pundits, players, fans, whatever. This guy gets looked at so much. And I'll be honest, like after that Grimsby loss, I think people have a right to. That was a shocking result to have. Getting knocked out of the Carabao Cup in the first round. I think it was the Carabao Cup, I'm pretty sure, in the first round. But Ruben Amorim, I kind of feel for him in a way because this is his like first proper season with the players that he has, and I think a lot of fans had expectations for the way they want to see Man United play with the new players that they've signed under Amorim. But unfortunately, I don't think, at least it's been three or four games now, and he kind of hasn't really lived up to that expectation. And because of like the way he's gone about it too, by like neglecting players, kind of being stubborn with his like play style, it kind of amounts to the pressure he's been accumulating overall. So that's why I think he's just the most pressurized manager at the current moment. We have Xabi Alonso next, and I'm going to put Alonso in the hot seat too. And I think that's just because of the way, the conditions he's come in at Real Madrid, but also the kind of the expectation he's set because of the previous season he had at Leverkusen, or like the previous seasons he's had at Leverkusen and what he's done there. Obviously, Alonso came from Leverkusen, where he went invincible domestically for I think the first time in Bundesliga history, which is an incredible incredible feat to have in your resume as a manager. Obviously, coming into their Real Madrid squad with probably one of the, I guess, most talently stacked squads in Europe at the moment, but also the egos in that squad. And Alonso has kind of had to face the burden of Ancelotti's mistakes, Ancelotti's tactical ineptness last season, if that's even a word. And I mean, in a way, it's not really his fault, but in the end, he did choose to leave Leverkusen to become Real Madrid's manager. So in that sense, like, it's kind of on him to kind of, take up that responsibility and take up that challenge to kind of sort things out. So I think that he's in the hot seat because he does have a big job to do. With the players that he has, the players at his disposal, he has a big job to do. Real Madrid obviously went trophyless last season, and it was a big disappointment. A lot of fans had so much outrage. Obviously, Ancelotti departed at the end of the season. I think everyone expected that since like February. And in comes Alonso. And I think since February onwards, people were screaming Alonso's name. So in that sense, I have him in this. I don't have him in like the most pressure because it's not like, I don't know. It's not like he's also spent like a crazy amount of money in order to bring in even better talents. And I think people have an expectation for him, but they're willing to give him time as well. So I put him in the hot seat there because he does have a big job to do. Because it is Real Madrid in the end. Simeone, man. I'm debating between these two. I'm gonna put him there. I think Simeone is like 10 years a manager in terms of like the Atleti profile and what he's done for Atletico Madrid has been like, it's been good. It's been very good. He's put them on the map again, obviously, in those dark like 2000 times. He's put them on the map in like the 2010s for sure. And to winning 2 La Ligas when Ronaldo and Messi were around during their prime years as well is again remarkable. And I think what he's done with Atleti with like, I guess before he kind of went on that big spending spree, what he did was very like respectable. But I think that again, similar to Arteta in a sense, who's like upcoming on this list, he's kind of had so much time now. He's kind of had like so much time, so much money spent without winning a major trophy. The last major trophy he won was like COVID, like 2021, I think, when he won La Liga. Since then, he's been like, Atleti have continuously been disappointing when it comes to Europe, when it comes to like, I guess, competing at the highest level. They've always fallen short, and I'm kind of worried that now it's 2025 heading into 2026 that Simeone project has kind of gone stale. It's gone like, too, how do I explain it? It's almost gone rotten in a way. It's gone stale, almost moldy. Not to like disrespect him or anything. I think he's a great manager still, but it's coming to an end. The downfall is starting to like, decline is starting to be there. I think that he is under a lot of pressure because he's again brought in so many names this summer, so many players, added so much depth to that thin Atleti squad last season. He is kind of pressurized to bring in some sort of result, whether that be a trophy. It could be the Copa del Rey. It could be something, but he is under a lot of pressure. I mean, I could tell you from watching La Liga too that this guy, he needs a result badly. And he hasn't had the greatest start to the season either. Enrique, I'm going to put him in comfort. Obviously, winning the treble in his second season at PSG is a great, incredible remark. Etched in their history. First Champions League, first treble, second treble of his career, but first treble for PSG, obviously. And I think that in itself should put him in the comfort zone. He's written that story. He set that standard. And honestly, heading into this season, I'd be surprised if they didn't win, like Liga, for example. But in the Champions League, like, I expect them to go far. But like, if they don't win, I'm not surprised. Because in the end, the Champions League, like, a lot of people expected Barca to win last season. A lot of people expected Liverpool to go very far last season. But, those expectations kind of fall short. But in terms of, like, domestically, I do expect PSG to kind of stay dominant. And they have, to be honest. They've been very dominant over the last, like, 10 or 15 years domestically. So that's why I kind of keep Enrique in the comfort zone. Because if they fall short in Europe, that's the best manager they've had in the club's career. In the club's, lifetime. I don't think, he's meant to be in the we'll have a look section. He's not someone worth investigating. Maresca could be comfort or on vacation. I'm going to put him in comfort as well. I think that Maresca is in the comfort zone as a manager. Obviously, won Chelsea the Conference League last season. Came top 4. Kind of dug him out from like the 6th to 8th place range in the Premier League when he came in. And honestly, he's done a remarkable job. Maresca's done a remarkable job as a first season manager for Chelsea. I don't think Chelsea fans have like an insane expectation for like Chelsea to win the Premier League or win the Champions League. I feel like they have the expectation of like competing, going far in those competitions, but I don't think that if they come short this season, they'll grow as a team. Maresca's kind of like, he has players at his disposal to make the club grow, and he's obviously invested a lot in the team, to be fair, but I think that what he's done last season is enough to kind of keep him on for another season if they fall short this season, unlike the managers up here. Also, these are like prone to change, if that makes sense. Like, these aren't the final places. I'll have to switch them around based on like where I put the rest of these guys. Next up, Mikel Arteta. Yeah, you know what, We have a third most pressurized manager on this list so far, Mikel Arteta. Buddy, it's now or never. It's now or never, bro. You have had so much time now. You have come so close. You could see the finish line. The steps are almost there, brother. But you just can't get there yet. And this season, you have spent a ton of money again. You've invested so much into your players, into your depth, into the talent of the squad. It's time to deliver. I'll be honest, it's time to deliver. You gotta get there. Over the line. You're so close. And I rate Arteta as a manager. I've said it in the previous videos. I do. But he has to come through this season. I think he has no excuse now. He has all the players he needs. He has all the tools at his disposal. It's just about delivering. So, and I think that if Arsenal fall short again this season, I don't know. This will be a very, very interesting take to have at the end of the season, depending on what Arsenal do and what they accomplish. But I think a lot of people would agree with me when I have him up as someone being the most pressurized manager. Arne Slot. Tell you what. I might have him here. I'll put him there. I'll put him there for now. But coming into Liverpool and winning the Premier League in your first season is a remarkable job. Especially with the players that weren't yours. That is a remarkable job. Remarkable. I'll never belittle him for that. That is truly insane. But the expectations you have for the season, my friend. The expectations. Breaking the British transfer record fee twice in one season. You are expected to deliver silverware. Now, it could be the Premier League again. I think that has to be the bare minimum, in my opinion. It has to be the Premier League and something else. Because last season, obviously, you won the Premier League. You fell short in the Carabao Cup final. You got knocked out by PSG in the round of 16. You lost to Plymouth in the FA Cup, which is a big shock. But you are expected to deliver again. If Liverpool go trophyless, I don't think they'll sack Slot. There is so much expectation around Liverpool, so much hype around them now that they have Isak, Wirtz, Ekitike, Frimpong, Kirkez, Salah, Van Dijk. The list goes on. They have a stacked, probably the most talented squad in the Premier League at the moment. So they're expected to deliver. I don't think it's personally on him because he's already delivered. That's why I have him in the hot seat and not at the most pressured. But they have a lot of expectation. I think a lot of people would agree with me there, but we'll see. Conte will probably be the first manager we'll have a look. Of course we'll have a look. I think Conte's an interesting one because he's probably one of the managers that comes to mind when you want a manager to come in to a new club on the first season and succeed, if that makes sense. Obviously did it at Chelsea, did it at Juve, did at Napoli now. The only blip, whatever the term is, on the resume is European football. This guy is so bad when it comes to European football, in my opinion. I mean, the stats are there. This guy doesn't win in Europe, unfortunately. That is something worth looking at for him in terms of Napoli now that he's signed players. He's again stayed at the club because he's managed to bring in players that he wants. It's something worth looking at. I don't expect Napoli to sack him, especially if they do well in Serie A and they get another Champions League spot for next season. I don't expect Napoli to sack him, but it's worth looking at. He's on the caution watch for this season because if they don't kind of go far in Europe, if he doesn't improve himself as a manager when it comes to European pedigree, it's worth having a look. I can't lie. Hansi Flick, my savior, man. You are my savior, bro. I'm gonna put you in comfort zone as well. Coming into Barca with, oh my god, I could go off for 30 minutes right now, but I'm gonna keep it short. Coming into Barca with the grade 2 mathematical abilities of Deco and Laporta, and coming in and winning a domestic treble in your first season, that is incredible, especially with such a young squad, an inexperienced squad, a young squad, had to fish out talents from La Masia every weekend in order to deliver on the pitch, and to also implement an entire new tactical system and deliver that consistently on a week-to-week basis, whilst also managing the most entertaining team on TV for an entire season, honestly, I might even put you on vacation, bro. I might even put you on vacation. You have saved my club. Let's just keep it. Let's just call it what it is. You have saved my club. You have every right to be on vacation right now, man. And I don't blame you, because he's wanted to obviously bring in more players this summer, but he's again restricted because of the Barca financial situation. He's brought in a keeper in Juan Garcia, which is I think it's the best signing of the window so far. Brought in Rashford on loan, low risk option. And he's also developed players, kind of implemented them into this new system now, the Highline system. And I'm just excited. I mean, obviously, as a Barca fan myself, I have my expectations. I obviously expect Flick to, go far in the Champions League, compete. I really want to win the Champions League. I have that expectation for him. But then again, I don't think he's pressurized. He's not pressurized one bit, because people know the struggles he had coming into the squad initially, and to flip it like that and deliver like that and win the domestic treble like that, bro, you're on vacation. And if any Barca fan disagrees with me, comment down below why you think so. Because, I mean, I was debating to put him either in comfort zone or on vacation. Anything higher than that, I don't know. I don't think he needs to be looked at. I don't think he's pressurized. Simple as. Thomas Frank. Interesting one, this, to be honest. I might have you in the comfort zone. That's just because of Daniel Levy leaving, in my opinion. I think he's in the comfort zone there. I would have actually had him at We'll Have a Look, but I think he's on the comfort zone because of the chairman leaving. Spurs have this weird thing with managers. I think the manager turnover at Spurs is too much, in my opinion, at least in the last couple of seasons. I think it's because of Daniel Levy. But I think that because he's gone now, Frank kind of has time to experiment with the squad, kind of has time to kind of deliver in terms of silverware for Spurs, or kind of get them to the standards that they want to meet. I rate Thomas Frank as a manager. I think what he did at Brentford is remarkable. Stepping up to Spurs now, it's a great move for him. Obviously gives him the opportunity to show his managerial experience at a club like Spurs. And yeah, I think he's in a comfortable position. I think that if they don't do super well, I expect Spurs again to finish somewhat in the top four, maybe top I expect them to get a European spot at the bare minimum. If they don't do that, it might be worth looking at Frank. But now that they're in the Champions League, we'll see how he does. But I think that he's in somewhat of a comfort zone because of, I guess, the faith kind of fans have in him. I don't think they expect him to deliver in the first season. Similar to Ange in a way, but Ange was a different story. Actually, now that I think about it, I might have to put him in We'll Have a Look. But you know what? You guys decide in the comments below where Thomas Frank should be. Pep Guardiola, man. This one's a tough one. Brother, you might be there. You might be there. Yeah, you're going to be there. Pep, man. Pep. That defensive back line. Sort it out. Sort it out, man. Because that is single-handedly letting your team down every single game. I don't know what you could do. I don't know if you've signed the right players, but your fans know that you are expected to deliver some sort of trophy this season, man. Some sort of trophy. Going trophyless was unacceptable last season with the players you had. But now that you've actually improved your squad, in terms of talent, and kind of got rid of the deadwood, you're pressurized to deliver. And we're talking about one of the most accomplished managers and most, I guess, the greatest managers of all time in Pep Guardiola. But he's still up there with the guys that need to deliver. I think everyone can agree with me that City have a very, very good squad, a very in-depth squad, but the fact that they're not able to deliver is sad. They've lost their fear factor, and I said it in a previous reel I made or whatever. But yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. This is a bit of an interesting video. I didn't know really what to expect when actually making this tier list, but I think we've done pretty well so far. I mean, I feel like a couple people could have been shifted from comfort zone to We'll Have a Look, but that's for you guys to decide in the comments below. So if you guys have enjoyed this style of video, let me know. It's something new to me. And I will see you guys in the next one. Like, share, subscribe. Road to 100. I've genuinely been appreciating the support on social media. I mean, on Insta, TikTok, and YouTube, of course. So if you guys want to follow all the socials, links are below. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.